welcome to the Hamlet Podcast. This is the official podcast of the Cheerful Hamlets Student Theater. In this episode, 4 of the hosts of the podcast will be talking about unpopular opinions on drama and theater. Some of the opinions come from Reddit, some are our own. Your 4 hosts today are...
Kuba,
Jay,
Helena,
and Kasia. Yeah, so let's hit it with the first opinion that we have here. Actors and directors are too sensitive. Constructive criticism is accepted and welcomed in every other industry, but somehow critiquing an actor's performance is off limits. Do you guys agree with this?
No, I don't. I think that constructive criticism is not always accepted and welcomed in every industry. Definitely not. Mm-hmm. It's always an issue, and I think in a lot of industries and ways of lives and jobs, it's even more difficult than in theater and in film. And I think that in theater and in film, it's such an essential and ubiquitous part of the creative process that it's well, first of all, whether it's a problem or not, it is always there. Mm-hmm. And second of all, I don't think that's the problem. Yes, of course, I mean, artists are, known for their huge egos and fragile souls, and we are all very sensitive people. But we get criticized all the time, and we criticize all the time, so yeah.
I actually feel like, it is important. I would agree with this part, but I haven't seen people not taking the criticism generally, more than in other industries. That there are people who will just lash out on the constructive criticism and call it hate. That's also another thing, that there is this very weird line between hate and constructive criticism that many people are not able to distinguish, and many people have a different border for it, let's say.
Sure.
Yeah. But I think that it's actually theater, there's always some kind of review after or something like that, and the reviews are a very important part of the whole theatric experience, I guess.
I have to say that one thing that strikes me is that actors and generally artists tend to identify with their job very much, and criticizing the job very often means to a person criticizing them as a person. So this is kind of problematic. And another thing that I wanted to point out is that this is very different in professional theater and in amateur theater. Because in professional theater, there is actually a lot of feedback, a lot of professional feedback as well, the reviews and so on. In amateur theater, I think the most feedback comes not from the audience, but from your peer, actors.
Yeah.
And this is also kind of hard because you feel like other people are also doing things wrong and they are criticizing you. Mm-hmm. So it's it's a different role that you assign to your colleagues and a different role you assign to your audience. And I think people are even more willing to take the negative feedback or constructive criticism from the audience than from other actors.
Sure. But going back to what Helena said, I actually think that if we look, for example, at what was happening in Polish acting schools recently, the whole scandals, this is what's going on in the actor, theater, movie industry everywhere. The director, the producers, they are gods, and the actor is a piece of garbage, and he's treated like that. And of course, if it's Robert Downey Jr., that's not the case. But if you're just,
but the bar is really
average,
high.
If you're just your average Joe, you're just your average actor, you can get destroyed totally. And this is the idea of criticism.
Yes. Yeah.
On the contrary, though, I do agree with Kasia about amateur actors being or taking criticism better than professional actors. At the end of the day, there's a lot of room for improvement, and that's why I think we all accept it. But as for professional actors, I feel like they consider themselves as perfect, or their work is, cannot be commented on. Like, for example, in the movie Joker.
Yeah.
Right? Dedication and everything. You just can't tell, oh, well, you didn't do that well enough.
True.
So, yeah.
So, popular, not just like kind of in the middle, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Shakespearean characters are highly unrelatable.
I think so, because their problems are actually not as much like ours. Because at the end of the day, who's going on a 3-day Romeo and Juliet fallen in love for 3 days, and then the families don't agree on that, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
You can draw some parallels, but it just seems, when you look at it, it just seems they like look at them and like, why did you do that? You didn't know each other. It's not like this love was we don't see it as an actual love, right? If they knew each other better before, and it was like a longer period of time, I feel like nowadays we put more pressure on like getting to know each other in love. And then we also like push the marriage limit much later and so on, right? So it is not relatable. Then you, for example, have conflicts of kings. We are unable to relate to the problems of kings, I think. I do understand you can draw the parallels, but in themselves, their problems are different from ours, so they are not relatable.
I would say that maybe it's not the parallel thing. Maybe it's more like nowadays the Shakespearean characters are becoming more and more like archetypes, and they are kind of like frames that we draw on, and it's, they are not supposed to be real people with real problems. They are kind of like, as I said, archetypes of issues that people might have with each other or with themselves, and not really a character like, flesh and blood.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with both of you. They, in themselves, they are not relatable. Often their psychological depth and their psychological structure is not good, because Shakespeare wasn't a psychologically aware writer. We kind of often attach that to him, and he didn't, he rarely ventured that deeply into
the psyche.
into the psyche of his characters, and it's definitely not realistic, psychological realism. So that's why we often read him and we're, baffled. Why the hell would King Lear, kick his daughter just for saying that, she's not a completely devout follower of him? But at the same time, Kasia is right. It is some kind of matrix, some kind of stencil that we apply, and we make it. We make it relatable. That's the best thing. I mean, we just take King Lear, we put it into modern corporate world, and suddenly it becomes relatable, because you can imagine a crazy boss, I don't know, Elon Musk type, who's basically borderline insane, and he walks into the room and everybody who's not 100% on board get the fuck out. That's how it could work. Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, not every performance deserves a standing ovation at the end.
Totally agreed. 100%. Push it further. If you don't like the performance, do not clap. You're not obliged to clap. Clapping has basically two functions. First of all, when you're watching a performance, the actor and the performers are, creating energy in the room. Of course, it's a metaphor. It's not, physical, kinetic energy. But you're watching and there's emotional energy in the room. And at the end of the performance, you are basically charged with this emotional energy and you have to let it out. That's why we clap. It's physical movement, so it's part of catharsis. And if it wasn't there, why should you clap? If you not clap. Why should you clap? If you don't feel like you should be clapping, do not clap. And second of all, if the performance was awful and you're clapping, you are giving the performance false review. They are getting false feedback. They are there, they see everybody, roaring applause, while the performance was shit. No way, don't clap.
Yeah, but there's like this, you're gonna be the old one out if you don't.
Screw them.
I know, but it's hard, It's
It is hard, yeah.
This part, the same way as when people clap at the end of the flight, Polish people clap at the end of the flight. I remember first time I was very young, I was so confused and everyone was clapping. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
I
totally.
clap. I don't know why. I think that's what society expects of me, right?
Pressure.
So then you feel like you have to, and if you don't, you're gonna be the weird one. It's the same way as if you really like the performance, it's hard to be the first one to stand up as well.
Sure.
To agree with my fellow hosts, you really shouldn't clap unless you are especially fascinated by our performance or any performance that you see.
Yeah, if you come to a Cheerful Hamlets play and you don't like it, don't clap. Really, it speaks volumes.
Jesus. I don't know if the rest of the group will appreciate it. Okay, next opinion. Comedy theater is mostly garbage. Oh, tough one.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you like comedy theater?
I don't really go to comedy theater. I mean, the comedies. Sorry, the comedies that I know best are Shakespearean comedies, and they are not all of them, and not all are on the same level. But I think they're quite clever, and they often have like more themes than just this very vulgar comedy. So when I'm thinking about Much Ado About Nothing, for example, it's a kind of clever play, and I don't think it's garbage.
Is it good comedy though?
Well,
think about
different than today's comedy.
Yeah, I mean, think about piece of culture that makes you laugh the most. Movie, book,
memes,
YouTube sketches, whatever.
Anything but comedy.
No, I mean when you watch, I don't know, Key and Peele, I am laughing my ass off. It's super funny. I can't remember the last time I went to a theater and laughed that much. And I'm talking about modern comedies because of course Shakespeare, it's 500-year-old. Sorry, I can't count. It's 400-year-old stuff. It probably won't make you laugh so much. But I went to Teatr Kamienica. I went to I can't think of other places. Strictly comedic theater, but it's not funny.
I think that
it's not funny.
I think that what I find funny in theatrical performance is when there is a story that is told, most probably it's a dramatic story, where there are from some comedy aspects. So it's not that
comedic relief.
Yeah, comedic relief. So when I can when there's something funny, but it's not the purpose of the whole story is to make me laugh, but it's a part of the performance, right?
Casual humor.
I can find some stories that are but it's not the main focus of it. I'm not expecting to leave the theater and think about how much I laughed. I'm expecting to leave the theater and think, okay, that was this story. That's what I can take out of it. I'm generally comedy is a very interesting thing because comedy is more direct than we think. Because it's a way of people dealing with the reality. So when you look at it this way, I think that comedy is best applied to those kind of situations where it's a way of dealing with the problems around the world. So in the play, for example, the way of dealing with the problem or with our increasing emotions would be to make something funny to maybe let us go on and let us acquire more of this problem that is in the play. I think that I got myself in a circle a little over here.
No, but I get it. I mean,
for me, to put the nail in the coffin, I don't enjoy comedy, and that's why I don't watch it. But to bring back something you said, Helena said, you talked about laughing or comedic laugh.
Comedic relief.
Oh, comedic relief. Or and then you mentioned something about laughing at something specific. We have to point out that laughing sometimes doesn't have to come from comedy. We had stage a play, Richard III. We had some of the audience laughing at a rape scene.
Yeah.
So it's not, strictly, okay, I'm laughing, that means it's funny.
Yes.
It can be genius, the way you make a joke, but it doesn't have to be funny.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, you got me convinced.
Okay, the next one. Artists can't talk about politics. To be true, I don't really know what it means. What does it mean?
It's actually, I can own up. That's my question. That's my unpopular opinion.
What do you mean by artist?
I thought that you were gonna ask what do I mean by can't.
By popular, by politics. What does it even mean?
I mean that artists in general. I mean, well, to my experience, people in performative arts, theater, making movies, are on the surface they are open about the ideas that they have and other people have, and it's supposed to be often the place that they work, for example, a theater, is supposed to be a place of discussion. You can always hear that, we made this play because we want to confront some ideas.
Yes.
But in reality, these people are often we are, sorry, I mean, let's not,
Let's own it up.
Yeah, let's own it up. We are often so opinionated and full of ourselves and so closed to discussion in reality. And it's often just, exchanging ideas within the same circle. So if I'm talking about animal rights, for example, and we're going to make a play about animal rights, it's mostly going to be people talking about how, presenting one stance on this, one opinion, and maybe a little variations of it. But when somebody comes up and he has a completely different approach, there's no room for that. I just met with this, so many times, because, to put it in concrete terms, I think artists are generally to the left, spectrum, left center of the politics, spectrum of the politics. And if somebody from the right comes in, there's suddenly no discussion, And if there are, because there are some conservative artists, it's also a different camp. And they are, separated.
I don't think that's the case in Poland, though. I think there is a lot of art that is pushed to the right from the right, I think. But it applies the same idea that there are circles that are that have their specific opinions, and it's hard to break them through. I don't think artists shouldn't talk about politics. I think artists shouldn't have to talk about politics, because I feel like nowadays there is a big pressure on artists to have to talk about politics and take a political stance.
Yes.
And they just signed to look pretty and sing pretty songs and do actor. They don't have to have any political knowledge. And then they are pushed, and then they say something stupid.
No, but but you have sure. If you don't know about politics, you shouldn't be. A general rule is you shouldn't be talking about things you don't know about. So, for example, I get it. I don't have to listen to Boris Schütz talk about politics because to me he's not a political authority figure. But also, I think what you're going on what you said, that you don't really need to touch politics when you're making theater, when you're making movies.
But there is this pressure.
There is this pressure. Yes, exactly. Especially, I think in Poland, because we are a really, really politicized nation. I mean, we talk about politics almost everywhere and all the time.
I think that it's important sometimes to touch on politics in theater, actually, because very often to put spotlight on a specific issue, you have to use art to express this problem. because otherwise we can listen to politicians talk their essays for years and no one is gonna care. But if you show the problem in a way that is approachable, then people are going to become more interested in the problem, and maybe not to express specific. I don't know if I agree with you, basically, because I think that people should be allowed to talk about politics, and we shouldn't take that right away from anyone. Is it a problem that there is a circle? Sure, but you also have to be. You have to know that there is this circle, and if you are having a different opinion, you have to be aware of that, and this is your responsibility to be aware of that. You shouldn't be put down based on this, in your career based on that. That could be a problem. That's something that I could see being a problem. But talking about it, I think that we should all be allowed to talk about things that we deem problems or we deem important.
I beg to differ when it comes to artists, because there always can be a different motive, right? I mean, following popular demand, if say you're talking about politics but you want to protect your legacy, you'll most probably stand on the side that is dominating, so that you don't affect your own legacy, your own, yeah.
I have to say I had a slightly different take on it because I understood this opinion a bit differently. In my experience, especially not maybe so much with artists, like, established artists, but with artist students, they really don't care and don't think and don't discuss politics. I mean, they are very often so engrossed in this, artistic world and in their careers, in their steps in the career,
Right.
and they are so focused on art itself that they don't really don't have opinions on political issues, for example. Maybe it's more true for example, music students.
I mean, that's your experience, right? With
That's
music
my experience.
students.
So it's probably different with theater students because
theater is
very
political.
often is political, and music is less often. It can happen, for example, with operas, but I think that music students they don't discuss it at all, and it's sometimes hard to discuss it with them, not because they have such strong opinions and can be persuaded, but just because they don't have opinions. Okay, the theater experience in Poland is kind of classist, and the theater industry in Poland can't make up its mind if it wants to be high-end art or inclusive when it comes to targeting the audience. So maybe I will just explain it a bit, because this is my opinion, and I think it's true not only for theater, but again also for the music industry, especially classical music. So there is this very much discussed problem, but not really resolved, that going to theater or going to Philharmony or going to opera house is this very elegant and elevated experience, and you have to dress up, you have to know how to behave, you have to know when to clap, and it's at the same time everyone complains that there is not enough audience, that young people don't like theater, young people don't like opera, they don't come to those places, they don't experience this kind of art, and it's at the same time they are trying very hard to be more, interactive or to include different kinds of media and, to be up to date. And at the same time, they are very, very resistant to getting rid of this very posh atmosphere around it.
I agree, but one thing I would say is I don't think that's only a Poland issue. I think that those kind of things and those kind of this kind of art that is considered high art is very often
exclusive,
very exclusive, and it's kind of like I would say it's exclusive to the point that it very much discourages people who don't feel comfortable in this kind of posh snob environment.
Yes.
To actually enjoy the art of it. And I think that art is one of those things that should be available to everyone. And I'm very much in the belief that it's important because it gives this kind of high, let's say, on this pyramid of needs, right? A higher need that we shouldn't just take away from people just because they, first of all, probably were born in a completely different situation, because it's very often the case that you don't have access to art, to the high art as much when you are born in a more poorer household, let's say. And it is exclusive, and I wish it wasn't, because I don't think that watching a performance, you're not the one to be looked at when you're going to a performance.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the one to be looking at, so no, you really shouldn't
definitely.
be.
I mean, you could wear sweatpants to a theater. I wouldn't have a problem with that either. You know, being a part of the audience or being the performer. Yeah, definitely. And you know.
And I think also this is something that many people have a problem with in the pandemic, for example, that, I don't know, artists and actors are preparing plays via Zoom or, you know, via the contemporary media, that it's not elevated enough. It's not, like, you know, higher class enough for them.
So, well, that didn't turn out to be unpopular at all.
But yeah, I think it would be if we talked about it with, you know, professionals or people who make decisions.
Yeah, especially if you frame it as classist.
Maybe.
Yes.
Not that it's
Probably.
Because
yeah, I mean, you could see, for example, ask a theater to come to a prison and, you know, stage a performance for the prisoners, and I think it would, you know, make some sour faces.
Yeah.
What the hell? We're not going to come to a prison, you know? They're not going to pay for the tickets.
Yeah.
75
Or even
zloty, you know, 150.
Prison has its own stigma, right? Because those are supposed to be bad people. Yeah. That's also a...
But that's, I mean, when was the last time, you know, you heard about a theater that would perform for the prisoners?
Would go for the
Things
village.
like this don't happen, yeah.
Theater that would go specifically out of their way to perform in some small village for people who are not experiencing theater at all.
I mean, you have Gardzienice, right? But
this is a small village on its own, and it is very much exclusive, I would
yeah, it turned out to be exclusive in the end. It's like the vacation when you go to a cabin in the woods and it costs $2,000.
Yes, and it's supposed to be this very
you know,
rustic experience.
Exactly.
Okay. I don't mind snacks in theater. Well, I don't neither. I mean, there's always the problem with the noise, so probably...
Definitely distracting, yeah. I would mind it.
Yeah, I remember once I was in a concert and there was this old lady behind me who was constantly unpacking those like medicine candies, you know, like strepsils, for coughing. And it, first of all, it's loud to unpack, and then she was kind of sucking on them loudly. It was really bad. So,
but
no,
also,
definitely.
Imagine you're staging a Shakespearean play, yeah? You're trying to show anger, emotion, and somebody's just at the end of the row crunching on chips and popcorn. I mean, it's gotta be
That's
really
kind
annoying.
of the thing. I mean, because I love snacks, period. I'm thinking about movies right now. I love snacks in movies. It's one of my favorite way to appreciate a movie. When I'm watching a movie, I'm eating and drinking something good. It's like a holistic experience, you know. I feel good all around. Theater is a bit more difficult because, well, these are live people.
Yeah, they have to focus.
Yes, you have to focus, they have to focus, and it is more of a, you know, contained, focused, saturated space. But two things. First of all, I think that snacks are they are okay in this situation because it makes you feel better about the thing, and it doesn't really distract you.
It breaks the vibe.
I don't know, man. But okay, but that's the thing, because I don't know what the hell, who came up with this. Why is it popcorn and chips and the loudest possible snacks? Give people something to eat that is not so loud.
Chocolate.
Chocolate, yeah, but
Bananas.
Yeah, but for example, when you're giving them these things to be eaten in the theater, whether it's a movie theater or a normal theater, unpack the thing for them. You can't give people, for example, wrapped candy, so they will unwrap the candy. No, you get a ceramic plate or something that doesn't make so much noise, a paper plate, and you put the candy bar on it. And if you want to eat the candy bar it's already unwrapped for you.
Some people are loud eaters, man.
I think that it can be destructive if you have, for example, very smelly food.
Maybe ice cream.
Very loud smelling, very strongly smelling food. It can be very, very destructive for the performer. Because I don't think many people don't want to eat just before the performance because they feel like there's already stress. So I think that's a problem. Another thing, I think that it would kind of make interactive theater problematic, because imagine you're trying to get someone on the stage and they're just finishing their chicken wing right now, and they coming with the very oily hands.
Theater, no. Cinema
is whatever. As much.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I think it shouldn't be super smelly. Because I think that's if you have so many smells in one place. But this person gets chicken wings, this person gets something else, and it just smells like disgusting. And then you come in after them, and also imagine tidying up that, because I swear to you, people are going to leave their chicken bones on their seats.
Like, give them a kettle, let them boil some water.
Come
back in a second.
Mac and cheese.
In Texas, I kid you not, they sell pickles in cinemas.
I don't mind pickles, they don't smell.
They do smell.
Not like in the whole,
Kinda.
But I would love to go to a cinema and, be able to chew on some
garlic.
Bigos, just like
pierogies. Nice. Well, on a more serious note, though, I think it kind of goes back to this idea of inclusivity and how refined is the experience supposed to be. So it's hard.
But I have different arguments for this, not the inclusivity. I think it's not a problem.
It's more pragmatic.
Yeah.
Okay, our last opinion here. So I love the bows. This is not me, by the way, this is from Reddit. I love the bows. I feel like I'm getting to see the performers as themselves a bit. I especially love when you see them interacting, winking to each other, laughing, etc. So, do you think it's true both as the audience and as the performers? Do you like taking the bows or not?
Opinion?
I don't know. It was in the section of unpopular opinions.
Very often the unpopular opinions on Reddit are actually popular because they get voted up because people upvote them. So it turns out that most upvoted ones are the popular ones.
I will say that I don't agree with this as a member of the audience. I don't like the bows. I think they very often take so long, and very often the actors don't really need to take 3 rounds of bows, and it happens so often, especially in those very prestige institutions like Metropolitan Opera. They always take at least three
like the Cheerful Hamlets. They take 20 minutes to thank everybody involved. They freaking thank the cleaning lady, and it's just like, Jesus,
I love
shut
it
up.
that we always thank the institute, even though we never stage it there. I mean, we have the the rehearsals there, but it's
thank you, institute, for existing. I guess.
But that's like a little bit of theater politics.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But
I think also this is I think it connects to the idea of encores as well. So when I was in many concerts where the applause was not even that much enthusiastic, but the artists really wanted to do the encore, and they did. And I kid you not, I was in a concert where the artists did 6 encores, and everyone is a separate musical piece. So it took 30 minutes or even more before the thing ended, after the concert itself finished. So
kind of reminds me of Richard III's last musical
piece that was super long.
It was very
But then it was the whole idea
Yeah.
to make people kind of sit in the...
it was supposed to be kind of like awkward and
Unsettling.
uncomfortable.
To make them sit it out. Exactly.
Yes.
But yeah, it's kind of, it's a little bit, a thing on the fence, because on one hand, it is really nice to see them interact with each other, and especially if you have a series, like a drama, and it's very emotional, and then they kind of come out, but not only, I mean, in comedy it's as well, you see these actors come out and interact with each other and then smile, and then you're thinking, oh my god, are these a couple in real life? That is so sweet. But if it drags on and they're bowing all the time, and then the worst thing is that when the applause turns into like this rhythmic, like clap 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 clap, like you're in the concert. Oh, that is just
I will actually up it and say that I also am not a big fan of bows as a performer. I feel like there are 2 types of actors. One that loves the moment before the play, and the other type loves the moment after the play. And I'm most definitely the first one. And I really love the tension and this kind of atmosphere before the performance starts. And actually, I think it would be more satisfying for me if the play ended and it was like, that was it. The actors don't go back onto stage. And I don't know, maybe what kind of turns me on in this idea is that I have to imagine the audience's reaction. I don't get to, go out there and have this big smile on my face for 15 minutes.
I don't mind it because I feel like it's cool to stand next to people. But my problem is that the moment that we are doing bows, I realize that it's the moment we're going to have to tidy up the whole place in like 15 minutes and get out of here. And I all the time think, okay, let's finish it so we can wrap it up and go home and go... home, let's go have a party right now because I am done. I want to go and sit down and talk to people. So that's the part. But I think I like bows as well because, you can be just... yourself finally, but still in the costume, which is kind of fun. That's what I like.
Okay, so I see we're divided, kind of. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for this conversation, and thank you for listening to us. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and follow Cheerful Hamlets on Facebook and Instagram. Hear you next episode.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.